right, welcome everybody. So we are normally not presenters. We normally are in the classroom with a bunch of littles. We teach pre-K, so it's usually 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. So it's nice to have some potty trained members in our classroom. All right, so just some introductions to start us off. My name is Amber, and I am a faith-filled mother of 2. And I've been teaching in early childhood for about 10 years now. And I can say that I still haven't figured it all out. I'm still learning every day. We talk regularly about different ideas, even on the drive here. We were like, so what do you think we should do about this student? But I have to say that PELI has made my job a lot more, it made me a lot more confident in what I'm doing, and that I'm being much more direct with my instruction and in just really including what the kids need, where they're at, and that I'm not just doing ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, that we're really meeting them where they are. So I'll let my other colleagues introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Bryn, and I am also a mother of 2. I've been teaching in early childhood for 20 years, and like Amber said, thanks Amber, nobody ever has it all figured out. But like Amber said, PELI is an amazing tool to give us the ability to individualize instruction for our students, and like Amber said, really meet them where they are. So hopefully we're going to be able to show you today how we do that and some of the tools that we use within our classrooms.
Hi, I am Anila. I am actually from Albania. I was born and raised there, so you'll hear an accent in here today. I am not a presenter, as they said. I am just a teacher, and I'm good in there. In here, I don't know. Let's see. I have been 20 years in US, about 17 years with LVCC. I'm proud to be there and teach pre-K. My kids go and say like, oh, are you going to kindergarten with us, Miss Neela? And I go like, oh, no, I don't think so. I am staying in pre-K. I'm not graduating with you guys. I love what I'm doing. I love PELI. I used many assessments for 17 years. I love it just because it tells me where the kids are at that point, and then plan to meet them where they are, and then plan for the future and get them in a higher benchmark.
Right, some goals today. So our hope today is that we can share our information and experiences with you, and that they're relatable, and that you can take a lot of what you hear from us home to your classrooms to really work and work in your rooms to help your students. So today, these are our objectives. We want to answer these questions. How is PELI used as an effective assessment in our class? How do you use the PELI and make leveled groups and offer tiered support? And what other activities can be used to supplement this program, this assessment? So, just to warm up, I brought our timer, with pre-K here. So we're gonna give you guys 3 minutes to talk to each other. You can talk to a neighbor, the person behind you, group of 3, however you wanna do it. And just answer these questions on the board, and when the timer's up, we'll jump right into the next set of slides. So. Go ahead. On back. We actually, in my class, we like to go, stop, look, and listen. Oh, yeah. Maybe we should try that. I should have done that in the beginning. So when I say stop, look, and listen, you say, oh, yeah. Ready? Stop, look, and listen. Oh, yeah. Good job, everybody. All right. I heard some of you may have been in this woman's training earlier. Oh, hopefully it doesn't start yet. Ruth Kaminsky, she's one of the authors of the PELI assessment, and I know we've had trainings with Ruth, and she's just wonderful. So here's a couple words from her to kind of give you just a synopsis. Maybe.
Hi, I'm Ruth Kaminsky, one of the authors of Cadence Reading, the assessment formerly known as Dibbles and Dibbles Next, and I'm coming to...
I can sum up what she said. I watched it this morning. Pretty much Ruth just goes over what the PELI assessment is, and she pretty much says that it is an individually administered assessment, so you do it one-on-one with the student, and it's story-based. So there's questions embedded to assess reading comprehension, shared retell, story retell, letter knowledge, vocabulary and oral language, and phonological awareness. So it tests all those skills, and it takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes. So it's a really short assessment in the grand scheme of things, and you get so much information from it, which is one of the reasons why we love it so much. So let's see if I can skip to the next slide. All right. So we want to know where you're at, because we don't want to give you a bunch of information you already have. So by show of hands, who can, well, everyone, have you ever used the PELI assessment? Only 1, 2, okay. All right, well then we're going to be hitting a lot today. So has anyone had the PELI training? Just the first session today, so you're just a base familiarity? Okay. And, well, I guess that last question's really irrelevant. So we'll just move right along. So now I'm going to get into some videos that we took this year, recently, with my students. And so you'll see PELI in action. If we can, no, these will be loud. I'm not quiet. So before I play, I do want to make sure I point out that the PELI is done in the classroom. You don't have to pull students out. I mean, wouldn't that make life easier? But you don't have to pull students out. You can do it right in the middle of what's going on in your room. Usually I sit at a table in the back or on the side and have the child face, either turn away from the classroom, or sometimes I use a partition, like one of those test blocks, and it works. It works really well. And sometimes you have students who struggle, but like I said, this assessment gives you so much information that to get it in other ways, it's really would take so much more time. So it's really useful. So here's the first video, and it's on alphabet knowledge.
So here's a bowl of alphabet soup with letters in it. Do you know any of these letters, Maddie? Can you point and tell me what they are?
N.
Mm-hmm.
K.
Yes.
S.
Yes.
E.
Yep.
B. A. P. D. Y. U. H. W. O. J. E. L. E. M.
And that's it. That's all of them. These are them. Great job. That's all 26.
All right, you know what? I had an idea. I'm going to pass out some assessment manuals so that you can kind of look at it. They can do it. They can do it while I talk. So I'm sure you noticed while she was speaking, I was marking down what she said. So you have an assessment sheet, and you just literally circle the letters that they know. Yep. Yes, and there are different books there's 3 and 4, and there's 4 and 5. So 3 and 4 are students that you're going to have for 2 years, and it's their first year with you, and 4 and 5 is for students going into kindergarten in the fall. So while you guys look at that, just keep in mind, it's so simple. You just follow the prompts. You follow the prompts. If you follow the prompts, you can't get it wrong. It's so hard, though, for us as educators to not try to teach in those moments. You have to wear your assessor hat, and that was something that took some getting used to. But you could see that, I mean, this was a student she had her stuff down. But they don't all act like that. And there is a discontinue rule. So if they are 5 letters that they get it wrong and they're getting frustrated, you can just stop and move on. No harm, no foul. Just move on. So the next video is on the vocabulary and oral language section.
We are going to look at this picture here.
Actually, I should preface this by saying, I'll go back. So the vocabulary or oral language is 2 sections. First, there is, I gotta show it. The teacher in me needs a visual. So for vocabulary or oral language, there's a photo of whatever the story theme is. So this one's a classroom. They have pictures of, a globe and a chalkboard and whatever. So what we do is we read the prompts. Here are some pictures of things you might see at school. I will point to a picture and you tell me the name. What is this? And you point and they tell you the name. If they know it, you circle it. If they don't know it, you put a line through it. Simple and quick. And then there's a second part. There is the tell about. So this is where you assess for their vocabulary, well, not their vocabulary, their sentence structures, their sentences. So their oral language, if you will. So then you say, tell me everything you know about a flag, but you first, it's your turn first. So it says here, now I want you to tell me everything you can about some words. My turn first. I will tell you everything I can about a paintbrush. A paintbrush is something you dip in paint and then you paint a picture. Now it's your turn. And then you just ask them to tell about what they see. And there's a section on the back of your assessment form where you literally just write exactly what they say. Don't worry about grading it now. You'll grade it later. So I'll play that video for you.
We are going to look at this picture here of some things you might see in a bedroom. I'm going to point to a picture. You tell me its name, okay? What is this? What is this? Good. What is this? What is it? A tree. What is that? A clock? What's this right here? A what? A clothing room? Do you know another word for it? Clothes? All right. What is this? A hanger. What is this? This right here. What is this? A hamper. Good girl. Today, what is this? Can you take a guess? What do you think that might be called? It looks like popcorn. That's a good guess. That's a good guess. Okay, so now, Maddie, I'm going to ask you to tell me everything you know about some of these words. I'll go first. This is a spoon. A spoon is something that you use to eat, and it's made out of metal.
Like the mashed potatoes you use the spoon.
Yes, like you use it for mashed potatoes. Good. So now it's your turn. You tell me everything you know about a cup, and I'm going to write down what you say.
A cup is for you to drink the water, the juice, the tea.
Oh my, so a cup is for you to drink water and juice. And what else?
Iced tea.
And the iced tea.
I love iced tea.
I do too. Yes.
I have to not drink a lot of I have to drink water because I have a bad cough.
Yes. Can you tell me what a spatula is for? Go ahead, what is a spatula for? What do you know about a spatula?
You use it to flip patties.
You use it to flip patties.
So that was just a little picture of what it looks like. Are there any questions about the letter naming or the vocabulary or language? It's pretty point blank. You follow what it says and they answer the questions. And they're fun stories that the kids can easily get into. So I usually have kids asking me to take this. I've had kids who took it and want to take it again when they see other kids doing it. So it's something that they really like in the classroom. Good? Question. Sorry, go ahead. Here, how about I give you the mic? I'm going to give you the mic. Sounds like a long question.
Okay. How do you score when a student doesn't know or doesn't use the word that you're expecting, like the other student did? She said a clothing room. It was a closet. But what if they're not exposed to certain things in their, family?
Excellent question. So these manuals, which we can also pass these around. You want to pass those around? Let me hold this one for a second. So in this manual, this comes with all of the curriculums. In the back, there's appendix. And the appendix have a section for every book, for each section, that give you the cheat sheet. It tells you the answers, so you don't have to think about it. So for example, all right, what was this story? The first one she was doing, it wasn't that one. It wasn't cook. It was the bedtime. It was the bedtime, right? I think that was a 3-4 one. So that is on page. I think this book is a little different than the other one. This is the newer one. All right, so this one, new puppy. That's not new. Time for bed. So it's on page 125, and it has a whole list.
And the blue one.
Yep, in the blue one. Yeah, not in the purple one. The purple one's the training workshop, which is printed backwards. Yeah, so it has everything you need to know in the back. Now, in many of our trainings, we've talked about how in different areas, things are called different things. Like flip-flops here are called, what are they called in Hawaii? It was something weird that I've never heard of, but it wasn't sandals. Sandals, it was a different word. Yeah, but so it might not have that. But if you know in your area that that is a common word, you can give them credit for it. But clothing, what does she call it? Clothing room does not count. So that one's not in here. It should be closet. But it has a whole list of words that count for the point and words that don't. So this is really, I go to this every time I do my grading of the assessments. I have this book ready and I just look at the answers just to make sure. Again, this assessment makes it so much easier. Did that answer your question? Okay, everybody else good on that? Yes, another one. Are we able to break it up into smaller parts? Yes, and not even just for 3-year-olds. You might have some older kids, and I have this as a note for one of the slides later, but that's fine. You are able to break it up for kids that maybe can't sit and focus that long, for kids who have cognitive disabilities, for kids who just maybe need a break. You can do the alphabet knowledge separately. You can, ESL students, you can do all these sections separately. The only ones I would say to do, not really together because it is all one, is the comprehension has, now where did I put the book? Did you want to pass this one around? I don't know where I put the book, but it has the story. So in the beginning, you would start by saying, hey, we're going to look at a book together, and you'd flip it over, and they'd look at the cover, and you say, what do you think this story is going to be about? That's where the comprehension starts. So then you could skip to where the story begins and read the story through, all the way through. I'm just flipping here. Ask the questions, yeah. And then at the end of the story, there's comprehension questions. So do all that together and then continue to the next page to do the shared retell. You definitely want to do the retell right after the story because they might forget the next day. And then, yeah, they do. And then the last section is the phonological awareness. That's the last section, and that's a fun one. So I'll show you that video, but yes, you can do that if needed. It's nice to do it all at once because it's more cohesive, but if a student truly needs that, absolutely you can do that. Good question. Another question.
I think I kind of understand like the other part. Maybe I don't want to assume what she was asking, but what she was asking is she said something about what if they're not, does it make a difference for the scoring, if they've never been exposed? Like maybe the child lives in an apartment that has no closets, so they have never been exposed.
All right, so the question is, if the child's never been exposed to those words or those pictures or images, does it make a difference? Is that it?
Yeah, so for example, like the one book is all about the farm, and they're asking pictures about things on the farm, but what if they're from the city and they've never even seen, is that part of this?
Right. That's a good question. These are all of the assessments for the 3-4 and 4-5, they're all based on the same standard. So you could give this assessment to someone who's older, you could give it to someone who's younger, and it has the same outcomes. Am I saying that right? So if they have not been exposed to that, they might score low, but then when you do it again, because this is done 3 times a year, I probably should have mentioned that. 3 times a year you do this, the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year.
And the books are the same, equally the same. The books are the same, like they're not like some harder and some that, they're just 3 different stories, same level. Yeah.
Yeah, so even if they do poorly on one of the assessments, you would see in another one where they could do better in the vocabulary. Does that make sense? I'm going to ask that a lot. It's always what I say to my husband when we fight. Does that make sense? All right. Anything else? Okay. I'll play the next video.
We're going to look at...
Oh, that was a vocabulary. So this one's the comprehension. So I didn't do the entire comprehension. I kind of just did chunks so that you could see a little bit of it.
No, okay. Great, said Mama. Let's search for something we can put on the noodles. Where should we search? Carla looked in the refrigerator and found a piece of cheese. How about this? Asked Carla. Yum, said Carla's mama. I'm getting hungry. Where can we find tomato sauce? I know, said Carla, and she ran to the cupboard. She found 2 cans of tomato sauce. Mama said, we can put it on the noodles and sprinkle cheese on top. Mama said, is there anything else we can find for our pasta dinner? Carla searched some more. Look, she said, I found some meatballs. Hooray, said Mama. Now that Carla and Mama have all their ingredients, what are they going to do? Make dinner, I think. They used all of their ingredients and made spaghetti and meatballs. What do you think Mama and Carla will do next? Eat it? Yeah, I think so. Carla and her mama sat down to eat dinner. We won the super dinner search game, said Mama. We did, said Carla. And the prize was delicious. So Maddie, let's see what you remember about the story. Who was the story about? Carla and Mama. All right, so Maddie, here are a few pictures from our story. I'm going to read the story again, and when I stop, you tell me the words that go next, okay? Carla was bored. She wanted to play a game with her. Mama said, Carla, can you help me find some things to bake with? Okay. Make dinner with? Okay. Sure, said Carla. Carla and her mama needed to find something to put on noodles. So Carla looked in the...
So that was comprehension. Any questions? No? Yes.
Just to go back to her thing, so let's say they were doing it on the closet.
Yep.
And she would still be good at comprehension. She said she looked in the clothing room. So she would still score high on that, right?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't think any of them are like that. Usually the vocabulary are different answers from the comprehension because it's not the exact same image. It's usually a different image related to the story.
You like said cupboard, something
Yeah.
say cabinet.
Cabinet, yes, that would be, yep, that, or she said, in the story it said mama, she said mommy, that counts. Yeah. So if it's something that means what it's supposed to mean, yes, that would count. Sorry, her question was, because they want me to repeat the question. Her question was, if they say in the comprehension, if they answer the question and call something what it was called in the vocabulary answer, even though it was wrong, does it still count for comprehension? Yes. I got you, Sam.
Good comprehension there.
Thank you. I learned something, right? All right. So the last video is on the phonological awareness. And this is, so the past two students were very attentive, the one was a little distracted, but she understood what was going on. This student struggles a little more, so you can see kind of how I interact with a student who struggles.
Here's Dylan and a toy box. And here are some things that go inside the toy box. We're going to play a game and put the pictures back in the toy box. I'm going to show you the picture and say the word, and then you tell me the first part of the word. Then you can put it in the toy box. So I'll go first so you know what to do, okay? This is a nightlight. The first part of the word nightlight is night. Nightlight. Night is the first part of that word. So I'll put this one. Now it's your turn. This is a flashlight. Can you tell me the first part of the word flashlight?
Flashlight.
Good. What's just the first part? Yes, it's flash. You did great. Okay, you ready for the next? This is a doorknob. What's the first part of the word doorknob?
Doorknob.
Just the first part. Just the first part. It's okay. You did good. You did good. You put that in. All right, this one's a fun one. Can you say cowboy? What's the first part of cowboy?
So you could tell that she wasn't sure, and then she kind of got really upset and a little anxious. I stopped pushing. You can prompt, and you can kind of push a little bit, but if they're starting to shut down, you never want to upset a child over an assessment. Yes?
Would you only provide the model one time, or would you model it again?
One time. Well, you model it once, and then you give them a chance, and if they get it wrong, you correct them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's sort of twice, but you put it in their lap the second time. In the beginning it's once, and then you say your turn, and it's I think it's called something specific, a practice or something like that. It doesn't count.
So what about for a child who relies more on visual cues and prompts?
The cards I'm holding have a picture of the word. Well, an image.
Maybe like a nonverbal prompt, maybe
Okay, so the question is, can you use a nonverbal prompt? You're not supposed to. You could see me kind of doing it. It's hard. That's, again, you have to wear that assessor hat, not the teacher hat. So, I mean, if you do a little bop, who's going to know? But you shouldn't be deliberately going like this, splitting the word apart. Yeah, that you do when, we'll get to that when we do Haggerty, when we talk about that. So, so in the back, like it says, look, we're going to do this. My turn first. This is backpack. First part of backpack is back. Backpack. First part is back. Your turn. And then this is where they try it. I think it says it on the assessment sheet, not in here. But so right here is where their test is, like a practice one. And if they get it wrong, you can correct them, but you don't do it repetitively. Just once, and then you go into it. And like, as we went on, she actually was not getting any of them. And I was like, good job, just put it in. Good job, you can put this in. So just keep it fun and happy. All right, so that's it for those videos. Sorry, you have to see me do one more thing later. But I think that's pretty much the gist. We're not really supposed to be teaching the whole PELI. We're just teaching more how it's used in the classroom, but I hope we gave you a good idea of how to administer this assessment. Okay, now these images, it might be hard to see from where you are, but they're also in the purple books that we passed out. These are the benchmark scores, so interpreting the scores. This chart is in the books. So when you finish doing the test and you score the sheet, like I said, use those purple books as a cheat to find out what counts as a point, and then you just total it up, lickety-split. All right, oh, they have copies. They're going to pass them out. Excellent. I didn't even realize we had those. So these scores are research-based, and they're actually accurate predictors of later literacy outcomes. I often refer to the benchmark scores during parent-teacher conferences to help a parent understand where their child's level is and to encourage them to do more at home, whether maybe it's reading a story together, whether it's playing with the alphabet, or maybe even doing syllables and sounds and rhyming. So both of these tables, again, you're going to get a handout, but they're also in those purple books. So there's a couple different levels. There's the benchmark score. And the benchmark score is where you kind of want everyone to fall. That's where the best predictor is. Actually, let me look in the book. Does somebody have the upside down purple training book? The training one. Yeah, that one. Can I have that?
Here, pass it this way.
That's our lucky book.
Upside down.
Thank you. I want to make sure I'm giving you accurate information. So it says, for the PELI score level, for students who score at or above the benchmark, they're 80 to 90% probability of achieving subsequent early literacy goals. So in their later elementary, middle, high school, academic career, those are the kids that are most likely to do very well. Students who score below benchmark, so not quite where they should be, but not the lowest of low, they're 40 to 60% of the probability to achieve those literacy goals. And then if they're well below the benchmark at the cut point for risk, I think it's labeled as the cut point for risk, they're only 10 to 20% of the probability to achieve those later goals. So when doing this PELI assessment, our goal is to figure out with the first one, where are they? Where do I need to target the skills, make tiered, differentiated instruction to get these kids up to a place where they're going to have future success? So that's the goal. All right. And there are 2 other resources that come with the PELI other than this main assessment, which is given, like I said, 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end. So for students that score low on their assessment, we have the option of using either progress monitoring or quick checks. So they're going to pass out the quick checks, and the progress monitoring is almost the exact same book, just a different story. So it's the same levels, same overall scoring. It's the same thing, but you give it, there's 2 of them. So you could give it once between the beginning and middle benchmark, and you can give one more between the middle and the end benchmark. So that one's exactly the same as the regular PELI assessment. Anyways, oh, thank you. You're a doll. So I typically do the progress monitoring only for students who score below benchmark in 2 or more areas. Now, you can do it on everybody if you want, but that would take up a lot of time to do it 5 times a year. So I think I just recently, this past week, went through my list of students, which Bryn is going to go into the website to show you exactly how to do this. I figured out which students were low in which categories, and I put them in a list. And if they were below benchmark in 2 or more categories, I put them on the list to do a progress monitoring. If they scored below cut point for risk, I would usually do the quick checks. A quick check. Did you pass them all out? Yeah. So the quick check, there's an orangish, yellowish folder coming around. And that's new, actually. They used to all be in separate folders. So there's one for alphabet knowledge, phonological awareness, and, the vocabulary. The vocabulary and oral language. So there's 3 different quick checks. There's not a quick check for comprehension. You have to use the progress monitoring for that. So those you can do as many times as you can fit in the book. I think there's 10 usually? At least 10 or 12 that you can. Typically, I think I usually do it once or twice a month with a student who's struggling. So for the alphabet quick check, when you open this up, it looks similar to what the book has. It's just not on like a barn or something like that. It just has the letters like this. So it has the prompts again. So you, again, follow the prompts. Now this is your answer sheet. They get to look at the book. In the book, it has it bigger. So they get the book, and you have them say the letters, and you just circle it on the answer sheet. And it's like that for all of the quick checks. Any questions about the progress monitoring or quick checks? Yes?
I'm only looking at one thing, but is it the same regardless of whether it's a 3-4 assessment?
Yes.
4-5?
Yep, it's the same for either. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, repeat that. Is it the same for 3 4s and 4 5s for the quick checks? Yes. 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 Other question.
So like after you score it,
Mm-hmm.
and you gave everybody their score. And
Are you talking about the main PELI assessment or the quick checks?
The main.
The main one. Yeah, go ahead.
So you see that only 20% know compound words. Would you then, as the teacher, plan for the next 2 weeks to work on compound
Oh my
words?
gosh, you're totally getting ahead of our slideshow. So the question was, if you look at the scores and a student is struggling in a certain area, would you plan for that? Yes. Yes, you would. So with that being said, I'm going to stop talking and let someone else do the talking. I hope you got a lot out of it. So I'm going to hand it over to Bryn.
Okay. So what we're looking at now is from the old PELI data collection website. So it looks completely different now, and we're going to look at that later. But what we want to highlight here is the beginning, middle, and ending scores. And if you look at each one of them, you can see the growth as you go across. So the first one is 172, the second is 252, the third is 272. That would be the same child. And you've seen that their composite score has gone up 100 points over the course of the year. So this is a tool that we can use to see, are we meeting those needs? Are we teaching to the skills that these kids need so that we can catch them up and hopefully get them on the track for future success? One of the tools that we're going to talk about later that probably goes directly to your question about compound words is Heggerty, which is a phonological awareness curriculum that the 3 of us all use in our classrooms and are absolutely in love with. And I think that it has shown dramatic improvement in my students' phonological awareness scores. I just started using it last year. I've been using PELI for 4 years, I think. And so I have noticed a marked difference in my students, even from the beginning benchmark to the middle benchmark. There's a huge leap in their scores because we're doing Haggerty every single day. So, but we're supposed to get into that later, so. On our next slide, we are going to look at the Acadience website. You can use your phones, go to this website, use these login credentials so that you can use it. Right now. Yes, right now. I think they know they're all getting my phones out there. They know. And I'm going to give you a minute to get there before I go there. But let's give everybody a chance to get there first. Oh, yes, ma'am.
So is this like a program you pay for every year with the website part? Or
Oh, boy. Is this a program we pay for every year? Our administration would be able to answer that question. I really have no idea. They give us all of the materials, and we do it every year, and I would assume so. Yes, I would assume so. Yes, I would assume that this is a paid service that we need to, pay into to access. Oh, okay, we're finding out. Yeah, right. They just updated the kits, as a matter of fact, with the quick checks and the all the books. The whole kit was updated. So
what do we click on?
Okay, everybody's on. Okay, what do I do, Amber? Help me. Do I click there? Yay!
Login as a believer, login.
Is it email, Cleaver, or SSL?
I'm not going to go back over to the website until everybody's ready, so let me know when you all are. Yeah. I always say, put your hand on top of your head. Utilizing PELI materials and the website is a paid service that your administration or principal or district would have to contact PELI to get the rest of that information. Yes.
To be able to use this, you have to be trained by PELI or Acadience or?
Yes. Yes. Do you need to be trained by Acadience, which is now what PELI is going by is the name now? Yes, we need to be trained by Acadience to utilize these materials. Yes. Yes. Well, not me. I did a virtual training. When I did it, I did a virtual training. I think Amber and Anila both had in-person trainings with Ruth. So I think it was just a self-paced webinar, if I remember correctly, when I did it. So, all right, so let's see if we can get over to that website. Ooh, uh-oh, what did I do, Amber? I broke it. Okay. All righty, so I'm going to try to be super quick with this because honestly, I use this very, very briefly. I don't use it a whole lot. At the district or administrative level, I think this is probably really useful for information that our administration sends to the state and various things like that. But where we would start is by finding your district. And we're going to scroll down and use the demo school. And then we're going to scroll down again to this test class. What? Oh, I'm not saying that word. I'm going to hear how I'm saying it wrong. No, I'm not saying that word. So if you need to add students to your class, you just hit this circle plus button, add class or group, add staff, add students, and you just, plug in the information. So when we went to our training on this new website this summer, we literally sat in the training and input our students into our classrooms on the website in the moment, and it's super fast and easy. So putting students in is really simple. Adding your students' scores is also really simple. You simply go, click on the student's name. That's the wrong thing. It's not there. Here. First, we have to select what benchmark we're using, which benchmark. So here is B for beginning of the year. So you would come over here to this little sideways stoplight and click on it, and you just input their scores here. Now this is not for the pre-K 3-4 or pre-K 4-5 PELI. This is a different level, so it does look slightly different, but the usage is the same. So you simply put their scores in and save it. And then you can see down below, it shows their scores, and it also shows where they are within those benchmarks. So blue is well above the benchmark score, green is at benchmark, yellow is cut point. I can't scroll. It doesn't go down any further. Nope. Yep, that's it. Well, that's only one student. Yep. Let me see if I can go back so that we can look at something with a few more students. There we go. Oh, that again, it only has one student. See, if we could just be using our own classrooms, it would be a whole lot easier. Irregardless, here we go. We can see here that it's very, very simple to look at the website. It's all color-coded. You can see exactly where your students are, without having to do any filtering or sorting of any kind. You can, though, go in to your beginning of the year, and then you can sort your students by any particular score. So all the students that are within the green, all the students that are green and blue. So as you're determining your groups, small group instruction, this is where this tool really comes in handy, because you can look at which students need to be grouped together for your individualized instruction. And the last thing I'm going to show you on the website is some of the graphs that you can see with what they call the pathways to progress. So if we scroll down just a little bit here, you can see where the students' scores are, and the line is their expected path to get to the end of the year goal. So these might be something nice for, again, at the district level, or even to show parents, like, here's our projection, here's where we're falling within that projection, so that it's a nice visual of where a student is. All right, so we're going to go back over to all right. So our next handout is something that I know Amber and I use in our classrooms always. Anila, I'm not sure if you use this worksheet regularly.
Yeah.
But this is an instructional grouping worksheet. There is a different worksheet for the pre-K 3-4 and pre-K 4-5. The only thing that's different is some of the scores at the top and where they fall within those benchmarks and cut points. So what you would do with this is you would take the students' scores, starting with their language index, and list each student by name into each one of the categories. So when you completed your assessments, which of your students in the language index scored in the red? Which ones scored yellow? Which ones scored green and blue? And then you can do the same under phonological awareness and alphabet knowledge. And then the way that I use it is I kind of look at it and try to get an overview and find the midpoint. You've got some students that are going to be all over the place. So as you're individualizing your instruction, you need to think about, what am I teaching? Am I teaching alphabet knowledge? Am I teaching phonological awareness? Am I teaching? And if you're doing different groups and different activities for each of those areas, your student grouping might be different. So what we're going to do now Oh, you're gonna have to explain all that. I think that's a big detail. I don't know.
Okay, so you may not be familiar with the language index. So the assessment obviously has those 4 categories that we talked about: the letter naming, the vocabulary or language, comprehension, and phonological awareness. They have combined all of those scores to make a composite score. So like an overall average of how the child did is their composite score, and the language index is just a combination of the vocabulary, oral language, and phonological awareness? I think phonological awareness. So just a quick.
Another detail. Sure, go ahead.
For the yellows, it's just anything between the goal and the club point, right? And then the club point.
Yep, exactly. Oh, I'm sorry. So in the yellow area, you're going to list any child who scores between the goal and the cut point. That's where your yellow students fall. So on the next slide, we're going to look at, again, some data from the old website. And these are actually my students from last year and their actual scores. And what we're going to ask you to do is look at the first.
Are we going to ask that? We only have 5 minutes.
All right, we're not going to ask that. We would utilize all of these scores to fill in on that worksheet where each child would go. So you can see, you know, this first child, she's in the green in the alphabet knowledge, but she's red in phonological awareness. So you're going to have students that are at the opposite end of those spectrums, you know, as you go. Right. Yeah, if you're interested, you can take a picture of this so that you can try and sort students by their scores so that you can determine. I can tell you, perfect example, the last 4 students on this score sheet or report were in my highest level literacy instruction group. And Jason, the 5th one from the bottom, actually moved from the middle to the highest instruction group mid-year because we saw a phenomenal amount of growth in his skills, and it was clear that he needed to be challenged a little bit more. So, you know, you can see there were a couple of lower scores in certain areas, but depending again on what you're teaching in your individualized instruction, you know, you may want to have those kids together anyway. All right, got to keep moving. Supportive curriculums. We got to wrap it up. So these are some of the things that we utilize in our classrooms to, yeah, we were planning to spend the most time on this today, but that's not going to happen. But we utilize all of these things in our classrooms. So we're going to take a couple of minutes just to run through these curriculums and give you an idea of how they're utilized in our classrooms. Amber's going to talk to us about Haggerty.
Okay, and what we can do is we can put the manuals for these curriculums up in the front for you to look at it after the presentation if you want a little more information. So, the Haggerty is a phonemic awareness. It's the one Bryn was talking about a lot. It's so great. I can't say enough good things about it. It's really just, it's usually 2 pages and you go through rhyming, where the students repeat after you. Rhyming, beginning sounds, ending sounds, segmenting words, blending words, and then the next page is adding syllables, deleting syllables, alphabet, and a nursery rhyme. And alphabet, letter naming. Yeah, so here's a real quick, I'll stop it early, video. I literally did this Monday of my classroom doing Haggerty.
Sound in the word. Here we go. Say wall. Ooh. Knob. B.
Knob.
Good job. Fan. Big. G. Remember that g sound is like in the back of your throat. Slip. Good job. Kiss your brain. All right, now we're going to chop a word into
We kiss our brain a lot.
syllables. Ready? Say wiggle.
Wiggle.
Wiggle. Wiggle. Good. Choppers up. Carton.
Carton.
So that was just a really quick, so it uses hand motions the whole time. So when it asked about using motions for the assessment, that's where I use most of my motions. So that really helps them to know when we do get back to the assessment how to do that. Now, when I did my initial assessment this year for PELI, we hadn't really been doing Haggerty yet. I wait till we're into school a few weeks, till they know the routines and transitions and all the things like that, till I get into it. So they really didn't have that base knowledge. I expect my scores to be much higher for when I do them again in January, because the students have been doing the Haggerty, and usually it shows. And I've been using Haggerty for, I think, 3 years. It's been a while, and I always see a big jump from the beginning to the middle. So, moving on.
One of the other tools that we use within our classroom is Waterford. So the Waterford Reading Academy is an online learning program. It is personalized to each student. They're assessed at the beginning of the usage, and then their path is created based on the skills that they already have. Some of the features are interactive curriculum, individualized learning. It uses songs, books, and games to engage the kids in educational activities. It grows with their learning. I had students during the year of COVID that everybody was at home and struggling with online learning. I had students that were telling time and doing addition by the end of the school year, because Waterford grows with them. If they've mastered a skill, they move on to the next one. I love it. I think it's amazing. Some of my colleagues don't love it quite as much. The kids do it. It can be a struggle sometimes. It is meant to be done at home and at school. So we can do it as homework, and I just think that it provides the students with an extra level of further instruction. And our last one is letters.
So at LVCC, we think beyond classroom. So teaching does not stop in the classroom. So what we do, we were trained in this program called Teach Me to Read at Home, which the goal of it is to train parents, pretty much train parents how to teach their children at home. And we train them in 6 skills or 6 skill components, which is book and print awareness, letter recognition, vocabulary building, early language awareness, phoneme awareness, and letter sounds. For book and print awareness, for example, we tell we teach the parents how to, when they're reading with their children, to point to the print, to ask those WH questions. When did the story happen? What do you think is going to happen next? And so on. To tell the truth, parents love the program. 2020, we taught this online. 2021 online via Zoom, and now we're doing it in person. And parents come back and say like how much they learned from this, and how much they're going to teach this to other kids, the younger kids, because they had no idea. Those are specific examples in how to teach their children at home in literacy. And this is another it helps PELI a lot. So like when they do this at home with them as well as we do it in school, then when they come and we assess them on PELI, they score much higher. And here's other things that we do in the classroom to support learners and to support PELI and literacy as well. For example, in alphabet knowledge, we do a lot of alphabet games. This I love. I put a picture of it because I use it in the classroom a lot and kids love it. Feed the Puppy game, where I just put a box and a picture of a puppy dog in front and some letter cards, and then they feed the puppy, and the puppy likes only the letters that they recognize. And so they go and play and they love this. The other things is exploring, of course, alphabet books, sing alphabet songs. I use a lot this eye chart alphabet, so when they go to L, M, N, O, P, we go slowly, and we like to separate those letters. And we do building letters. I have a girl in here building letter F. We play, we use different stuff to build letters with. For vocabulary and oral language, we do word walk, read aloud, explicit teach. We teach 2 to 5 words a week to start, but then we go higher and we do more later. Word wall, play-based learning, we teach those words, and then we use those words a lot in the conversation. During the week, we play a lot of games using those same words. For example, I know when the kids master their word, for example, if I'm teaching the word clumsy, and that kid says later, oh, I tripped over a carpet, and I'm clumsy, I know that that child like actually knows to use that word in different contexts. And for comprehension, of course, we read a lot of stories with children, stop and ask WS questions, it's WH questions, for example, or we're reading pretty much with children and not to the children, which everybody in early childhood pretty much does. For phonological awareness, we do rhyming matching games, read rhyming and alliteration stories, pointing out the words that rhyme or begin with the same sound, syllable games, clapping out the words of the week. We start with their names first, and then we go to those. Onset and rhyme cards, begin and sound clip cards, mystery box item, where my kids love this. They have to pick or pull one toy from the box, and then they say the sound that that toy begins with, and they put in this mat. And mystery, as I said, and it's important when you're doing PELI, I want to point to this, it's important to remember to be specific when asking students what is the first sound in the word and what is the first part of the word. Haggerty is great for this, as they said, like that's really helps them a lot. And some pictures of my kids doing stuff in the classroom, but we don't have the time, and I feel so bad that we had to go quick to this one, but thank you so much. And here is what you could read over and think about. And as I said, we don't have time to like share those ideas in here, but thank you so much for being here and listening to us. And that's all we have.